Well, we're almost at the very end of the year, 2024, when I'm filming this video, and just before moving on to 2025, I suggest we end the year with a game discovery, with today, a small live commented discovery of Rennsport or Rensport. I don't know how we're supposed to pronounce it. It's a circuit racing sim game, which aims to be very sharp and very realistic, similar to games like Assetto Competizione or iRacing. It's developed by Competition Company, and it's free to play. You can download it for free on Steam and play it for free. Simply create a free account on the Rennsport games site, so no concerns there. We're on a game that's still in early access. It's been 2 years since the game was in closed beta. In fact, it just moved, let's put it this way, into early access, open to everyone since December 16th, 2024. The developers at Competition Company plan to release the final version of the game in 2025. Today, I offer you, in video, therefore, to see a little bit what it has in its belly. See a little bit how the physics are, how the graphics are, the content. And then give you a little bit of my general feeling about this Rennsport, whose release didn't make as much noise as that. Here we are at the game's home menu. Before I show you the different content like cars, tracks, and more, let me give you a brief overview. I remind you that under this video, there is a comment section. And of course, you can use it wisely to give me your opinion on Rennsport. Feel free to ask any questions about the game. If you've had a chance to play it, please share your feedback. What did you think of the prices, contents, and physics? It will likely be helpful for future visitors. This discovery, we're going to make it behind the wheel, because it's a simu-type game. But it seems to me that there was also a way to play it. In this video, we will test if the controller can be configured and played with. We'll begin with gameplay at the wheel, which seems more suitable for this game. So, I suggest we start with a little tour of the garage, just to show you a little bit of the different cars. So, we're on a free-to-play economic model, which means you can download the game and play with a base content for free. But if you want more cars, if you want more tracks, you're going to have to pay. And to pay, you're going to have to buy the Rennsport coins. The currency is represented by a red R. Knowing that I'm going to show you a little bit of the prices precisely to buy the currency. We're at about $10 for 1,000 plus 100 bonus Rennsport coins. This means most cars in the game are currently available. I'm showing you a sample of everything. There's Stone, Audi, BMW, the M2 CS, which is part of the free content. From when you're going to install this beta, other small BMWs? We have some Hyundais too. We're going to have a little bit of Mercedes AMG, some Porsches, and Praga Racing 2, which is present in the game with the Praga R1. All the cars that are currently present in this version of the game cost, let's say, between $10 and $15 to keep it very simple. Buying all the cars in the game is both expensive and not expensive. It's certain that if we want to buy them all, it will cost at least $100. But on the other hand, it's about average. If we look, for example, at iRacing, I believe I understood that most of the cars in the game cost around $12. So, it's not really that shocking. For the prices, you should know that on iRacing, there are a few banners that you can buy for $2 or $3, just to start the game not too expensive, which is not yet the case on Rennsport. Banner prices range from $10 to $15 each, which can be considered both expensive and inexpensive. This is because the game is still in early access. So, to think that we pay for content on a game that potentially will never be completed, that can be annoying. On the other hand, it's about the prices. It's worth noting that in iRacing, circuits are also paid for, so it's quite similar in that regard. So there are free circuits, of course, there are quite a few. But if, for example, you want to do the NERB and you want to do the Nordschleife, you need to have the Founders Pack. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the prices. I'm looking at the other circuit variants to see if there are any other paid circuits. I'm showing you all the European circuits, followed by the American circuits, and finally, the American, European, and Asian circuits. Sorry. Oh, really? In fact, we've looked at everything, okay? So, if we want to have access precisely, for example, to the Nordschleife, but we can assume that there will be other circuits that will follow this economic model. You have to buy a Founders Pack. The cheapest one is $19. And for $19, you get the Circuit Plus, a ticket that allows you to buy a car, as well as a small badge. We have the $40 version, so you get the Hirschleff, a car with a reward. Finally, a special appearance, I suppose, from the Founders Pack. We have an exclusive livery for another Porsche, and we also have a ticket here. To conclude, there's the $70 pack that includes the Nordschleife. And then, basically everything I showed you earlier except here, You have two cars. Well, two tickets instead of one. Your name engraved on the ground. On the game, in quotes. On certain challenges, there too, to thank you for your support. We just really incredibly new on this course. It's very classic, once again. iRacing also has paid tracks and cars, and I believe the prices are similar to what we discussed. Then the question is, what about the cars? And are the tracks as well modeled, as well reproduced as on the games of the competition? There, I couldn't tell you. But there is something quite strange about this game. It's that there is a battle pass that you will be able to pay for, which therefore costs, I would say, between $15 and $20, which therefore allows you to unlock exclusive rewards. What is what? Can you please clarify what you are referring to? Maybe it's stickers, specific car appearances, maybe also specific versions of cars? I don't really know. In any case, what is certain is that battle passes on this kind of game are quite frowned upon. Battle passes are commonly associated with mainstream, casual, and seasonal games. And overall, it looks bad. To release battle passes on games that already have systems where all the content, in fact, is already paid for. But well, enough chit-chat. I now suggest we take a look at what it looks like in the game. The game offers both multiplayer and single-player modes, with quick gaming sessions available. And time trial. So, I don't know what that is, it's basically practice. We're going to see a little bit what it's going to give. We're going to test several circuits just to see a little bit what it's going to give. We're going to start with Manza. What parameters do we have? We have the duration, we can add small options. Do we have everything that's going to be weather and all that? I hope so. The damages, there's the fuel, the use of tires, there's the list of authorized cars, and so the conditions with the departure time, the month of the year. So I guess it's to define the season and the time scale, so it's how fast time is going to pass. For example, if you're doing a 20-minute race that starts at noon and ends at midnight, you will have to put the game in fast forward at the weather level to have precisely changing race conditions. So, there's something I don't understand. It's that I see that I have other cars that I can use, which are also free. But there seems to be some kind of countdown, I think. Like 3 days remaining. 3 days remaining. Does that mean that if I buy the Evo, well, not the Evo, sorry, the R8 now, and that I'm going to have a countdown of 3 days during which I can use? I don't know. Well, we'll test several then, but we'll start with the 1002 CS, which must be the least performing car. The loading was very fast, which is great. Now, let's get back on track. My steering wheel is recognized. I can shift gears. Okay, so I don't really know what it's going to look like in terms of the game display, because actually, wait, I'm going to show you this anyway. I'm going to display the little steering wheel there. I briefly switched the game to widescreen mode to show you some of the interface. I'll switch it back to full screen now. It's just to show you that at the bottom right, there, for example, you have the usage and wear of the tires. And on the left, obviously, you have the timers at the top. You have the names of the players and their times, I suppose, which are displayed. With my widescreen, if I want full screen gameplay, I have to do it like this. The little details in the corners get in the way. So there are some small details that are hidden. So, listen, let's go. We'll see a little bit what it looks like. In terms of steering, as I was telling you, we are on Ecamuse 5. I haven't played with the steering wheel for some time, so we'll see how it goes. What's cool is that the game recognizes this steering wheel, which isn't always the case with all steering wheels. Of lesser-known brands compared to Thrustmaster, Logitech, and others. We'll see what it gives. It's easy to configure due to the setup assistant for the steering wheel, which will simply ask you, to turn your steering wheel to the maximum, to the left, to the right, to detect some dead zones. The same applies to the brakes and accelerator. So, it's quite easy to set up. Here, I really have the default settings. I don't even know if I have a place to adjust. Well, I suppose so. Everything that is traction control, everything that is also management of aids and all that. In my opinion, there must be a way to do it in real time while driving the car. Just, I haven't found where yet. To do it, damn bummer. On the other hand, holy cow. We're already at 220 kilometers per hour. It's going very, very fast. The sensation that we seem to be pretty cool. Afterwards, I admit to you that I am not one. I'm not a fan of extremely realistic games like that. I've never played iRacing, for example. And it shows the penalties at the first tight turn where I drive over the rumble strips. So there you have it. I can't necessarily tell you the worth of the driving sensation compared to air racing. I had played a little bit with competition, and I found competition a bit weird sometimes there. I have the impression that it's quite easy to get used to, even with some prior experience. The car's realization is quite nice. The little details, the slightly grainy effects of the plastic. The sound is nice. We should try playing in other views to get a better idea. But it's true that it seems quite nice. So there might sometimes be a bit of a strange sound during the capture. It's just that the vibrations of my steering wheel are set to the max. I like to have a big feedback of sensation. And so it makes the desk vibrate a bit. But well, there won't be too much of it, not too much either. However, if I brake, you can really feel that something is happening at the chassis level. I've binded. Here's a key to change the view. To see a little bit what it looks like from the outside and see a bit the look of the cars, the sound and all that. We have various exterior cameras with different zoom levels, similar to the camera in Gran Turismo. What I mean is, it's extremely fixed to the car, that we almost have the impression that it's the scenery that's moving. Well, listen, personally, I think it's pretty cool. In any case, like that, at first glance, I saw that the game was in rather negative evaluation on Steam for now. Well, listen, let's go. We're going to see a little bit what it looks like with an Audi R8 1010, which sounds rather good. Small 1010 is rather nice. We then visited Spa to test well-known tracks featured in many games. I believe it looks quite good. In fact, it's not necessarily as loaded in terms of decoration as a motorsport, for example. It may not be as pretty as a Gran Turismo 7, but it still looks good. It's quite precise in terms of graphic rendering. There are quite a few details after all. And then, the cars are quite pretty, and I have no major complaints about them. Honestly, I think the game has rather a good vibe at the moment. So after that, of course, I suppose the crux of the matter will be the multiplayer mode, because I suppose that this game, Rennsport, wants like a bit of an Assetto competition or an iRacing. Went on the esports multiplayer side, with, as a result, a multiplayer that needs to be worked on. I don't know what it gives as a result, in terms of penalty and multiplayer. I don't know what the available game modes really are. If the community is nice, if there are enough players to easily find games, for example. As for the pure and challenging gameplay, the look of the environments and boxes seems to be well executed and appealing. We'll test the gameplay and disable TCS to check. Is there an indicator that shows how much TCS I have? Ah, yeah, it's indeed written there, so now I'm at 0, apparently. So we'll see, am I really at 0? I believe so. Does 0 mean that I'm at 0, or does 0 mean that I have a ton? Okay, I can confirm that I have indeed deactivated the TC0. That's what needs to be done, right? I wondered for a while if there were different TCS programs that we could work on in detail, and that it was among these presets that we chose. But no, it's indeed 0. There is no TC in 7. It's full on. There you go. If I give it gas, it slips, because the TCS is not activated. It must be clearly stated that solo players will be disappointed if they play this game. In solo, there are time trials against the clock and quick sessions, which serve as practice modes, similar to what we just experienced. There is no career per se. There is no artificial intelligence from what I understood, so there is no way to do makeshift races like on a Forza or a Gran Turismo. So, if you want to face people, it's really multiplayer, and so you have different types of multiplayer. You have custom. So here, it must be private servers where everyone sets the rules they want, and the official contests. So here, these are the official sessions, and so you have the different open sessions. And you have, I suppose, therefore, each day the calendars of the events that are. If you're looking for a game with a solo career, this game is not for you. It's simply a game that's going to progress, on the esports side, of the try-hard multi, to, once again, go compete on games previously mentioned in this video. So, as a result, I wanted to show you a little bit of night gameplay to see what it looked like. So, there's just one thing I couldn't do, which is change the weather, because I would have liked to show gameplay with rain, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. Well, I found the menu, except when I click, nothing happens. So that's it, it's like that. Here, we are on a BMW V8 hybrid. Why can't I accelerate more than this? So, I might be having a bit of trouble understanding how the car works. We also started on Road Atlanta. If that's it, it's good. The V8 Chewit triggers. Now, I understand better what's happening. a bit of night gaming. The noise is deafening. Okay, so this is pretty nice. Okay, so this is pretty nice. There's a real dynamic to the volume. And here, you can feel that we're in a race car, and you can feel that, yeah, okay, so here, yeah, it's nothing like it. This is cool. Plus my force feedback, it's pretty high in terms of settings. It's pretty high. And here, it's cool. Here, it's quite thrilling, actually. I must admit. The sound thrills me. It's a detail, but it saturates and makes us feel like it's screaming. In terms of the engine, it's actually a pleasure. Most games, we get the impression of having the same volume, a bit of the same brake all the time. Here, that's not the case. It's nice. Here, I must admit that I find it cool, really. Before ending this video, we're going to test the gameplay. Controller. If it works, because I've never tested, I've just seen actually, on the game What You Want, that there was a controller option, but I don't know if it's to play with the controller or if it's just to have a controller. To plug in, maybe to navigate more easily through the menus, to avoid having to search for options with the steering wheel. So, we're going to see a little bit what it looks like, see if there's really a way to play it, and if so, what it looks like. Before that, I'll share my opinion. So, once again, I'm really not an expert in subscriber identity module racing. I do a lot of racing games, but that's it. If you take a look at the content of my channel, you'll see that I mostly do mainstream games. Things that are much less accessible than this. I must say I quite enjoyed this game. There are things that are well done, and even, let's say, the more general areas, like the graphics, the sounds, all that things. We can compare it with bigger budget games, so to speak, or from bigger studios. I think it's really cool. Graphically, it's okay, not incredibly beautiful, but it runs very, very well. Like right now, I'm fully into the graphics, with a wide quad high definition screen in 29E, and it works. Like I have zero lag, it's fluid, it's pretty nice, without being incredibly beautiful either. The cars are pretty well detailed, I think. After, is their behavior really faithful to reality? I'll let you give your opinion on that in the comments. The circuits are pretty cool, so again, it's the same. I don't know what it's like on a race. It will be soon enough. In terms of the track modeling, whether the coatings are perfectly simulated, the bumps on the track and all that, I don't know. In any case, clearly, obviously, it changes a lot. Whoa. On the driving side, what's cool is that the steering wheel support seems to be quite complete. You can adjust a whole bunch of things on the steering wheel, but also regarding the car's electronic assistance and general settings. In fact, the in-game feel is good, plain and simple. There's no beating around the bush, as they say. Then again, maybe on other games maybe there are things even more precise in terms of car driving rendering, but here it seems good to me anyway. The only really negative points I have to bring up are possibly the price of some items in the game. The fact that there really isn't a lot of free content. There's no cheap content, like on racing. I checked the signs in the meantime, and there really is information on them. You can get about 20 cars for $2 or $3 each, allowing you to fill a garage without spending too much. It won't be a significant amount at first. The big red flag, so to speak, is the presence of a season, not on the game, the battle passes. I don't see what it's doing on a game like this. In fact, even if maybe it's honest in terms of pricing, I don't know, it's up to you to judge. Personally, a game like this, so realistic, which aims, let's say, at a perhaps slightly older, experienced audience. For me, it's really like a nonsense. To put a season pass, it's a thing. It could be a bonus for those taking it, possibly not affecting others negatively. I'm unsure, but it's still disappointing, especially for a game that hasn't been released yet, which is still in early access. And there you have it. So, indeed, I can plug in a controller now. Can I drive with it? We'll see that, gamepad. Apparently, yes, it seems crazy to me that we can afterwards. So much the better. But that's just my opinion. Controller players start with a big disadvantage, actually, compared to players who play with a wheel and who will know the wheel gameplay well. Let's see Upshift afterwards. If we can, it might be like one of the first simu-racing games that we could play with a controller. And apparently it seems to work, so I will need to bind the keys. So now, the steering wheel. It doesn't understand anything. The nations are lost, but on the other hand, it's very playable. So, joke aside, it's done very, very well. So we're going to have to get used to it too. Because it's true that managing such powerful cars with such physics, it's also realistic. On the controller, it's a bit unlikely, frankly. It's 100,000 times better than Assetto Corsa 1, for example, with controller modes. So there, for once, we find classic game sensations, but on the controller. I don't understand how it's possible. It's good news, I think, because it will therefore allow people who like this kind of game, who like the atmosphere and who want to play, maybe with more respectful players than on a Forza or a Gran Turismo, to play with a controller without spending hundreds or thousands on a steering wheel setup. But I admit that I didn't expect this, and I didn't expect that we would have an adapted physics nonetheless. In fact, if we switch to an external camera, we see that, in fact, with the controller, it's obviously ultra hard to make stable inputs without making any movements. Really extreme. And we see We see that the game, it doesn't really know how to interpret it, but it remains playable. And maybe a player who works with the controller could be a little competitive with a player who works with the Volo. Quite amusing. It might even make a small positive point in the end. There are other early access options too, naturally. But it's possible to play it with a controller, so once again, it's available on Steam, it's free. Don't hesitate to take a look. And then, if you test it, don't hesitate, of course, to give your opinion. In upcoming comments, briefly share your thoughts on it. As usual, if you like the video, I'm counting on you to leave a little like. For the end of the year, it's always nice to finish on a year. On a video, that will have some likes. Think about it. Think about subscribing if there are any new ones. Don't hesitate to come follow me on Twitch for the next live streams, since we might do it then. Live range carrying. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.